Alright, hello everybody, it's Kevin here. What we're going to do today is take a look at the new Adobe Photoshop CS5, and specifically at the new Content-Aware features that come with it. Now I'm sure many of us saw a short while ago when Adobe released their preview videos for Content-Aware, and we were all pretty amazed by what it can do. So let's just take a look with some images here and try some of the things that they tried in the video, and let's see some of the areas where it does seem to work as well as they showed. It works pretty well, but we'll take a look more in detail at what those little cleanups are we need to do, like they suggest, and maybe some areas where the tools don't work quite as well also. So what we have here is this image I took in the lovely Croatian coastal town of Savtat, and what we've got back here, we're going to take a closer look at this hillside here. Look at that, about 100%. So we see there's some power line stations and antennas and towers and things like that. So we're going to grab our familiar spot healing brush tool with the Content-Aware features, the new Content-Aware features toggled on there. And we're just going to do a quick brush over some of these towers and see that, yeah, it gets rid of them pretty well, pretty quickly. No problem there. We'll get rid of this one over here. Very good. Maybe let's go over that another time. There we go. Looks a bit better. And you see it actually does a pretty quick, good job to sort of recognize what areas it needs to keep and how it needs to keep these contiguous horizons. Actually, let's take a look at something a little bit tougher. We'll get rid of the mast on this boat here, which I don't generally recommend because, you know, then you'll just have a boat without the top of its mast. But for the purposes of exercise, we'll just try to get rid of all this and see how well that does. Okay, so we'll let Photoshop think its way through that. And you can see it actually does a pretty incredibly good job. It, again, it really recognizes where this horizon is and is really strong in maintaining it. And it doesn't give you some of the weird blending on your edges that we used to see with the healing brush tool. It actually kind of makes a hard cut, which is a lot easier to work around. So another nice thing about it too I've noticed is that if you have any of these little areas, you can just kind of patch them over a couple times. And it does a pretty good job of grabbing nearby areas and, again, keeping that horizon line really firm. So moving along to the next image, another thing they showed in their preview video was they removed an entire tree, you'll recall, from the left side of the frame in this one image. So we have something similar here where, there we go, where we have this bit of a tree that's overhanging into my frame. And we're going to try to get rid of that as well, just like they did. We'll grab our lasso tool here and just make a very quick selection of the part where this tree is overhanging. There we go. And just make sure we've got all the little needles in here. We're going to hit the delete key, and it'll bring up the fill options with the Content-Aware selected, so we'll hit OK. And give Photoshop a second to think about that. And what I expect it to do is create a pretty good patch of the sky with a nice smooth gradation from the darker area to the right to the brighter area on the left. And as it works its way through it here, we'll see that it does, in fact, patch in sky quite nicely. And it does pull evenly from both sides, but where they meet in the middle here, I'm going to zoom in, make sure you get a good look at this, you can see there is a bit of a seam here, where the clouds kind of stop, which have been pulled from the right side, and it's a little bit of a warmer tone sky to the slightly cooler sky that's cloudless on the left here. So even after we've done this, if we want to get this to look pretty good, we'll have to get our healing brush tool and kind of go back over this again and, you know, try to smooth out that edge a bit. And, you know, once we do that, we start to see that, you know, this can be a pretty effective tool. It's just not quite perfect, and it still does require a little bit of additional work even after you do use it there. So we'll move along here to the next image I want to take a look at. This is also from Savtat, looking back towards Dubrovnik here in Croatia. So we talked before about how it really works well with horizons and strong areas of contrast. So I saw this image in this little island here in the distance, and I thought this would be a really perfect area where we would expect it to just really be able to just grab any of this stretch of horizon over here and patch that in. The way we used to do this would be we would grab the clone stamp tool here and sample over here and, you know, do something like this where we'd see that horizon and then just kind of paint that on like so. You know, and that would get rid of that pretty well. And on this image it works quite nice because it's all even through here. But if you had more of a gradation in your sky through your patch, you would see that. So now that we have the Content-Aware option on the spot healing brush, you would expect this would do a really good job and just get rid of this quite quickly, actually. And as we hit this, we'll see that it doesn't so much. In fact, it seems to get confused because maybe the tones of the island are a little too similar to that of the water. At any rate, it doesn't really work for us at all, so we'll just try this the other way. We'll just grab the magic wand here again and hit the delete key to bring up this version of the Content-Aware fill, and I expect to get a very similar result. And this time we've even got some kind of funny color shadowing up here. So this is one area where our Content-Aware fill isn't working for us so well. So let's move along now to this final image here. Now this image is a panorama of the city of Vancouver, shot by Vancouver photographer Michael Boland, who did a fantastic job. Back in the CS5 demo video that Adobe did, that we all saw, you'll recall there was a similar image, a panoramic image that had a very kind of dark, detailless foreground and a very moody sky. And in the video they showed that you could just grab the surrounding area, hit the Content-Aware fill, and it did what appeared to be quite a masterful job of filling that all in. Now with this image where we have a little more complexity in the detail, and we have this blue, sky with an obvious sort of gradation on it, as opposed to their very textured sky, it might be a little bit more difficult, I'm thinking, for the tool to fill in all of this white space. But we're going to give it a try and see how it does. So I've got a selection made already, which will load up, and we're going to hit delete, Content-Aware fill, OK, and we'll let Photoshop churn through this. And there we go. Now, we're just going to deselect this, and one of the things we're going to notice right away, actually, is that the Content-Aware fill seems to, well, of course it was bound by the area of the selection, and with that white space behind, it's left this kind of obvious key line on the edge of the selection, which goes all the way around the patch. So that's obviously going to be a bit of a pain to go back and retouch, so let's actually back up a couple steps here. What we'll do is we'll go back to this stage and we'll expand our selection. We'll go Select, Modify, Expand, and 5 pixels should probably be fine. Just enough so that it gets away from the edge of the white, and this time as we do our Content-Aware fill, we shouldn't see that key line, which will save us some work. Alright, there we are, and we'll deselect once again. We'll see, there we go, that key line is gone now. But what we do notice is that, once again, there's this kind of a bit of a line here in the sky, right along here, where we can see this darker area of blue over here, with this lighter area of blue over here, and it hasn't really blended the two well. So that's something we're going to have to sort of go back and clean up for sure and smooth that off. Looking around the image, it's done a really good job around this building here. And down in the foreground, it's kind of taken this random jumble of boats and water and kind of patched it into this space here, kind of creating this, this really false creek below the real one, which is not entirely unanticipated, as it didn't have a lot of image data to pull from to fill this space. You'll see the edge of the. I'm just going to back up a couple steps. You'll see that white space being right about there. It's really not got a lot to work with. So these results are not entirely unanticipated, but you can see these obvious patches where, a little too far there, where we've got, sort of random chunks of power line and this little mini pond that's been created for this boat all by itself and things like that. So you can see when you sort of try to push the limitations of this and try to fill too large of an area, it doesn't really work. But that being considered, for what the tool is and advertised as, it does a pretty good job all around. It's certainly not a miracle fix, and it certainly can't create something out of nothing that's going to be perfect every time, like may have been implied or some people may have believed from the preview video, but all in all, it's a tool that does speed up a lot of things for us and makes a lot of things in Photoshop quite a bit easier. So that's it. That's our review of the new Content-Aware tools for Photoshop CS5. Thank you for watching, and have a good one. Cheers.